You're watching the Live Well, brought to you by Rapala.
Hey, welcome. It's 2023. It's the Live Well presented by Rapala. Tommy Sanders, Ronnie Moore, and this is what we've been waiting for, Ronnie. Finally, our elite season is going to get started. We have 9 full events on the schedule. It is a long journey, but every journey begins with a single step, and that first step is to a place that has been the original American destination for Big Bass, Lake Okeechobee.
A legendary place, and like you said, Tommy, it is. It's game week. It's the first week of the season for the Bassmaster Elite Series. Lake Okeechobee, South Florida, about as south as we can get in the United States to start our elite season, which means it's a different time of year down there. It may be cold up above Florida and Georgia, Arkansas. We're feeling like winter, maybe spring's on the verge, but down in South Florida, spring has already sprung.
And it's been a good while since we've been there. So this 6 years has passed since 2017. We were there. The winning weight then was, I believe, 83 pounds 5 ounces. Before that, it was 2012, 108 pounds. Big difference there. We're there closer to the 83-pound time, but that's all movable. It's all fluid.
One thing about Florida is you could go to Florida around Thanksgiving, you could go around Christmas, you could go January, February, March, you could go all the way to May, and you're going to get a variety of winning weights, you're going to get a variety of patterns, because those fish, honestly, Tommy, start thinking about the spawn around Thanksgiving, and it goes all the way through the normal spawn that other states experience. Those other states maybe have March to May, maybe June in their disposal. Florida has all of that plus more. So we could hit it at a different stage. We could hit it at 100 pounds. But one thing about Lake Okeechobee, every year it changes. Not only hurricane influx, a lot of water retention as well. It is a huge, important body of water for the state of Florida. And also grass. Grass changes. Wind is a big deal there. If you get wind from the wrong side for too long, it can pull up the roots of those grasses. It can dirty up areas that used to be clean. There's a lot of factors at Lake Okeechobee, but yes, it's a place that there are giant fish there, and we think, could you do 25 pounds a day and make 100? Quite possibly we could there. Who knows with the timing of it, though.
And that weather you were referring to, that can change from day to day. You could be on a place where you are wrecking them. The wind can change, and you are out of business after 2 days. That's what makes it exciting, really.
And it's kind of like somebody gave me the analogy. It's like a plate. You put a little bit of water on a flat plate, and if you just tip it one side or the other, that's basically simulating the wind. At times, if it blows heavily from one direction, you're going to have a foot or two less water on one side of the lake and a lot more water on the other side. It all takes time to settle out. There's going to be a lot of things that we could see happen. There could be spawning fish for sure. Can you do it for 4 days? Maybe not. Depending on the water clarity, that's the biggest thing. This water has been at what the locals would call 16 feet. It has stayed at that mark. Normally 14 to 15 feet is what they like to see there at Okeechobee for normal levels. Since the hurricane last fall, it's stayed at 16, and it has barely inched down. It's not came down really quick and raised back up. They've kept it at that mark, so we'll see what the water level, the water clarity does, but there's a lot of baits that we could definitely throw in as well, and we'll get to those later.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, that vegetation is what it's all about there. Kissimmee grass, eelgrass, they got the bulrushes, and just the difference between sun and clouds makes a difference in how far these big bass are pushed into that vegetation. There's so many different variables these anglers are going to have to deal with.
Yeah, and taking off at the top of the lake, you can go and hop in the rim canal and go all the way around the lake, depending on how windy it is, so you can make it to your areas of fishing. But you do have to consider that, Tommy, when you fish Lake Okeechobee. You don't consider where they're biting right now. You look at the forecast of where you'll be able to fish for the days of the tournament, Thursday through Sunday. And some of the baits that I expect, Tommy, honestly, when we look at the way it's setting up, maybe not as much grass before, maybe condensed areas. We may see those 7, 8, 10 boat spots where we see a good grouping of high contenders. We'll see if they kind of cannibalize each other in those places, but I'd expect maybe a little bit of a topwater bite, whether that's a popping frog or a walking frog like we normally see, or a walking topwater bait, maybe a prop bait, an X-prop. The Terminator popping frogs and all of the walking frogs, that's what you're going to do when you come to Florida. That's what you want to do. Sometimes when it gets a little cold, you got to finesse them with a trebled topwater that kind of sits in place, like the X-Wrap or the Skitter V, things like that. Other baits that we're going to see, of course, when you get to spawning fish, you're going to have big weights, big lines, soft plastics. You're going to see maybe a Tokyo rig comes out into play. Maybe punching will come into play if you find some of those bulrushes. Things like that will definitely factor. And then the last thing, there could be a group of anglers that find fish offshore. That's kind of a big popular thing. If there is a big contingent of pre-spawn fish, some of those anglers may use a jerk bait, you know, a scatter wrap, something like that, that they can get down there and simulate some bait fish, or a lipless crankbait, something that you can rip around, maybe fish some of those shell bars or hard spots out there. There's a variety of ways to tame Okeechobee, but you just don't want it to tame you.
104 anglers set to tee it up, hoping for all phases of the spawn to be going on. Should be perfect entertainment and a great way to get our year going. February 16th through the 19th. You see all the coverage right here on Bassmaster.com. Friday and Saturday also on FS1 and the digital channels that are associated with that. So we look forward to bringing it to you. That's the Live Well for today, and we'll see you at Okeechobee.